Hi, I'm Groundbreak1, and this is Midgardia's Cool Crowdfunding Show. I'm here today with Ralph. How's it going?
Wonderful. It's not so nice outside right now in Beijing. It's polluted, but I'm having a great time.
That's unfortunate. Yeah, it's nice and clear, but pretty cold out here. So I heard tell us about
Good.
the second edition of Rise. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
So, talking about Rise, the first edition came out just in January, and we had some really cool feedback. And I was using Rise in two workshops along the way. I was giving a workshop at ACAMIS conference, that is a conference, an international conference for schools in the East Asian region. And I was also using Rise in a workshop in my school, teaching teachers how to use role playing games in the classroom and do something with it. And along the way, I noticed that not everybody was very happy with the proposed resolution mechanics. The first proposed resolution mechanics in Rise are based on lasers and feelings. You have a dice pool, you count all the numbers that are four or more, and those are your successes. And based on how many successes you have, it shows you if you have a success with a complication, a pure success, or success with some benefit. And then I started trying out other things that would work with the system, with the idea of having three attributes and three skills with individual points in those skills and attributes. And when I started experimenting, I couldn't stop. So we have four extra dice mechanics or four extra resolution mechanics in the second edition now, and they are there to change the feel of the game that you're trying to play. That's basically it. I think it all started when I created Spared, which doesn't use dice at all, which uses Mikado sticks, those sticks that you hold and let go, and you pull out the sticks as a resolution mechanic, basically, because it goes with resources and based on your sticks, you have resources left because in Spared you are stuck on a boat after a big whale sunk your ship. So resource management.
We've all been there, yeah.
Yes. So yeah, it really came about from being out in the wild with the first edition of Rise and using it in the classroom. And the timing of Rise 2, the second edition, is basically I started yesterday with my class, 24 students spread over two classes. We just started with the second edition of Rise to make games from yesterday all the way to December.
Right on. Yeah, because Rise is more of a toolkit for making games than it is the game itself. Is that fair to say?
That's exactly what it is. It's a creator kit. It doesn't come with any lore attached to it. Um, Creators have to put in some of the lore to make it a game, to make it a story, but it comes with a scaffolding and a structure for anyone who wants to try out creating a game to make something that is focused on characters, where you have characters evolve and test them throughout the three individual acts in Rise.
Right on. And yeah, there's a few games out for first edition Rise. I think you put out like five. Is that correct? As examples of
I
what
will have to count. So the first one was Rise of the Apes. That's how the whole system came together, with evolution of characters, because it's based on Rise of the Planet of the Apes. And I thought it would be fun to have your character evolve throughout the game.
yeah.
Then we have Rise of the Judges, which is based on Judge Dredd, where the situation changed how high you go in the tower. It's the more modern Judge Dredd movie, not the Sylvester Stallone.
As lovely as that movie
His
was,
name.
yeah.
Yes, yes. Uh, Rise of the Dick is more of a fun idea. I know. I couldn't help myself.
No, that's fair.
It's There's some backstory to it because a friend of mine, we argue about Moby Dick, the book, and I'm a big fan of Moby Dick, and he is just annoyed that it has so much whaling in it, and that's the parts I like. So in Rise of the Dick, I went with the three attributes: whaling, whaling, and whaling. Whaling physical, whaling mental, and whaling social, of course.
Right.
And the skills that you gain in the second acts are whaling because it's a game about whaling. So you would always roll whaling. Um, Again, it's a fun idea, and it's something that I came up with and just thought, okay, I have to do it. It was more of a layout project for me because the game itself is a very condensed version of Rise, and I tried to fit everything more or less on a sheet that faces two sides. So one side faces the players with their rules, and one side faces the GM with their rules.
Nice.
So it's something that you can pick up easily and just play, having fun, sitting around a table, drinking some beers or whatever with friends.
Also, sometimes you
Or
got to make a name just or a game just because you have a good name for it. Like that's how it goes.
exactly. And then there is Spared, which basically is the idea. Okay, we had this silly Rise of the Dick, where we encounter the whale. Now let's see what happens if the whale actually attacks and sinks your boat. And I wanted to do something with those Mikado sticks anyway, and having them as resource management game is just fantastic. It's a solo journaling game because not everybody survives. So yeah, that's four that I created. There was the first Rise Jam, and I want to say there are in total 7 or 8 entries. There is some more apocalyptic games in there, and also something about Rise of, I want to say Rise of the Machines, but I forgot the title. It has something to do with intelligent robots.
Nice. I love a good intelligent robot.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and you're doing another game jam for Rise Second Edition, which yeah, you said goes for about a month and a half as of recording.
Yes, yes. It starts October 30 and it goes until December 15. And I picked those dates because that's exactly the time my students have to finish their games. And I wanted to show my students, hey, look, there's creators out there all around the world who use the same system as you and they have the same time as you. So let's see what they come up with.
Right on.
I showed my students some of my games, and I always have to say that I need to be fair to them. The amount of time that it takes me to create a game is not a representation. After you're doing this for a few years, you know a little bit how to address working on games. So I'm gonna do a lot of heavy lifting when it comes to telling them not to use pictures yet in the beginning or not to choose the perfect font before they start writing, stuff like that,
Yeah.
just to get them going.
Right on.
All the things I do wrong.
Look, you gotta make mistakes sometimes. I have definitely
Yes.
made things just based on font or hey, here's a map I want to use or something.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and that's fun. But for them, it's to learn how to do something in a more productive way. And for us, it's, hey, we want to have fun with creating something. So, yeah,
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
goals are a little bit different.
Is there anything else you'd like to talk about with respect to Rise Second Edition? I guess the big question is why a second edition of the toolkit?
Second edition is purely for those mechanics. And let's talk about those mechanics a little bit. So the first proposed mechanic is based on lasers and feelings. Dice pool, number of successes gives you a certain outcome. The second one, also by John Harper, Justice Lasers and Feelings, is based on Blades in the Dark. Uses the same dice pool, which is great for students to grasp, or for anyone who wants to move on from the first edition to the second edition and try something else. It uses the same dice pool, but it looks at the dice pool in a different way, which changes a little bit in the game. Blades in the Dark, we only look for the highest number. So it doesn't really matter if you have 5 4s in your roll, because it still is a consequence attached to it. You need to have that 6 to have a pure success. And this was the first mechanic that I tried out, also to show that small changes in something mechanical will change a story. So that was more of a teaching element that I used when I did those workshops. The next one changes the setting of the dice rolls a little bit. It's Barbarians of Lemuria style. I know Barbarians of Lemuria is an old game, and it's maybe a little bit more obscure and not everybody knows it, but I really like it because of one specific mechanic where they say you can use multiple skills if they apply to get a bonus. And maybe it's the way that our group, our weekly group, plays this game. It turned into, oh, let's try to bullshit our way to as many positives as we can get. And I just love that. It's a super easy system. You roll 2d6. The target number is 9, and by trying to get extra points from a skill that you use that you somehow can justify, you get that extra point, and it's that is just a fun way to addressing uh, the system. It works really well with the attributes and the skills in Rise, so I thought I just implement it because you get to argue with your GM. Friendly arguing.
You'd be amazed how many problems can be solved by your good penmanship.
Oh yeah. Uh, the next one is
Savage Worlds.
Savage World style. Yes, very simple. Who doesn't love exploding dice? That's it. Savage World. The same thing. You roll 2d6. You have staggered levels of success. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, and so forth. Increments of 4. And every 6 that you roll, you count, and then you roll it again and count whatever comes out of it on top of your roll, to create something a little bit more volatile and wild. There's like, when we play Savage World games, we usually have a more modern setting where you shoot guns, and it's usually something like miss, miss, and you blow the guy's head off. Because yeah, there seems to be no real in between in Savage World.
The firearms are very lethal, man.
Yes, yes. Um, so Savage World, just because it's fun to have this exploding dice in there. The last game mechanic is something that I read a few years back, and it's one of those things that kind of always stays with you, where you want to try it out in your own games, but it's not necessarily the newest mechanic. It's Dogs in a Vineyard. or it's based on Dogs in the Vineyard, the bidding mechanic. Um, I try to condense it down to fit it one A5 page because otherwise I would have had one page for each mechanic and 5 pages for Dogs in the Vineyard. So I made some layout decisions there in editing, but I refer to the original text for anyone who says, "Oh, I didn't completely get what this is about." This is by Vincent Baker, the one who later, after that, made Powered by the Apocalypse. And it's just, it changes the game a lot because you roll a dice pool and then you start, like, you put all the numbers in front of you, you take 2 dice and bid that number that comes out of the sum of those 2 dice, and your opponent, the GM, or if you want to play against another player, they would roll also a dice pool, and they would have to call your race, like to see it, right? So they would have to put the same number or higher, and based on what you put, you you use up your dice, and who has at the end the most dice left is the one who succeeds the overall action. But each step of bidding, you will say a part of the action. So you would describe an overall action. I want to go. I don't know. There are soldiers on the bridge. I want to cross the bridge. That would be the main goal. And the individual steps of bidding would break down exactly what you do to do that. And at any point, there could be a change. If there's a drastic change and you want to change something in the overall action, you would just start rolling again. And yeah, I really like that mechanic because it brings something different to the table. It changes the way you play. And I haven't tried it out with a Rise game yet, but I'm guessing, since I'm talking about that so much, that the next game I will create for the Jam will probably be something with bidding in there. But yeah, it's 1.5 months. What do I know, right?
Could be anything, yeah.
Could be anything.
I mean, you've already done Rise of the Dick, so that's out.
Yes, and I wouldn't put a bidding mechanic on that one. That needs to stay as simple as possible, not to ruin the joke.
Yeah, no, that's that's fair. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to see what comes of the Jam. 'Cause you, yeah, there's some cool stuff. Even just from the first one, like Rise of the Apes is it's pretty neat. I really do need to actually play it sometime.
I actually played it as an opening for the with my students just recently, and they came up with some wild ideas. One group tried to escape from the lab by stealing lab coats and dressing up. So they dressed up their apes and tried to fool the unattentive night guard. So they stole little cards so they could open the doors, walking around in lab coats. That was pretty neat. That was a group of girls that decided we're gonna have. We're trying to be non-violent in that game, which was a great premise. So during their session 0, they said we're trying to have as little violence as possible, whereas another group says, no, we're gonna go for the throat. Like, this is gonna be hardcore. Which yeah, if you have 6 different groups playing the same game, you will have so many different things happening. It's awesome. And for them, it was a good introduction into the system because now they know exactly what they want to do and how it works.
Yeah, absolutely. I've dealt with nighttime security guards before. That would absolutely work.
Oh yeah,
Um, yeah, I think that about covers it. Rise Second Edition is available now, I believe. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you're watching this, go click the links below. Check out Rise Second Edition, and yeah, maybe make a fun game. Maybe with some sexual
Oh,
innuendo in the title
definitely.
if you can come up with another one.
Ooh,
It's not
absolutely.
mandatory.
Not mandatory. Good.
Well, it's, good talking to you, Ralph. And
Thanks. Always great talking to you.
yeah. And yeah, have a good night, everybody.
See ya.